Welcome to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented by Current Electric. I am Mike McGivern. Thank you so much for joining us. So it's hard to believe, but it's already week 6 of the high school football year. This time of year, most teams and coaches have a pretty good idea on the identity of their team, who's who in their conference, and when it comes to the Classic 8, the best high school football conference in the state, it's always a dogfight. To get a win in this conference is always a difficult thing to do. Tonight's game will feature the Indians from Mukwonago traveling to take on the Pirates from Pewaukee. This is the last year the Pirates will play in the Classic 8. Next year, they'll compete in the Parkland Conference. This year's team is 3-2 overall and 1-2 in conference. We are now joined by the head football coach at Pewaukee High School, Justin Friske. Hey, Coach, how you been?
Doing okay.
Man, it's good
Trying to make it through this Classic 8 schedule one more time.
It's good to see you. I know this last time you're going to have to do this, and I know it wasn't something you guys asked to get involved with. Look, this conference, just about every other school in the conference has 2,000 kids in their school. And I think you guys are right around 800, correct?
Not 875 to be exact.
Next year, I think you guys are going to the Parkland, correct?
Yeah, a reconfigured Parkland, but with schools that are generally our size. And I think the big thing that people don't recognize or really appreciate is that while we don't make any excuses and we don't try to, place blame, our kids have to do more to compete because we have kids that are going both ways. So in a given day, we have to practice offense, defense, and special teams. And so our practices by default are longer. And over the course of the year, that's a pretty big level of wear and tear. A lot of these other schools that we're competing against are elite, great programs in the state that are 2 divisions bigger than we are. And most of their kids are playing one side of the ball. So they get twice the repetition in the same amount of time. And you can see it on film. And it's just what it is. But these guys are great coaches with great players. And it makes it just a lot more challenging for us on a week-to-week basis.
Hey, Coach, I've known you for a really long time, and I've never known you to back away from any fight, right? You're the guy that says, look, this is in front of us, and this is who we have to play. But I agree with you. Football is a numbers game. It's a numbers game, and if you've got 70 kids on the sidelines and you're able to platoon, especially this time of year, midway point to the end of the year, it makes such a difference. And the wear and tear on these kids' bodies, you can see the difference when there's a team that's got 44 kids fully engaged in practice because they're 2 platooning and you're 1 play away, compared to teams that don't have that luxury, like Pewaukee, who's got 850 kids in the school.
Without a doubt. And you know what? I give my kids all the credit in the world. Our kids last year battled like crazy. Our kids this year are battling like crazy. They are not walking away from the fight. It's just that the field is slanted in a little bit of a direction against us in terms of the overall wear and tear of the year. And, if I can be frank, it's a huge misguided decision on the part of the WIAA from a player safety standpoint more than anything. I don't blame the competitors in our league. I don't blame our coaches in our league. All of these guys run great programs and they do great things with their kids. But if we're talking about putting kids first, this decision was misguided at best and probably foolish at worst. And neither of those is great. A great look for the WIAA.
Yeah, I agree with that. In our open, I talked about this conference being the best high school football conference in the state of Wisconsin. And I'll have that discussion with anybody up in the valley that wants to have that with me. And I think I've got the receipts on my side. And I think you would agree that this is the best football conference in the state.
Well, it is. We have last year and this year 4 teams, being Mukwonago, Muskego, Oconomowoc, and Arrowhead, that were all rated in the top 10 in Division I at some point along the way, if not the final poll, plus 2 level 4 teams and a state finalist last year. And this year it's kind of the same song. And from our standpoint, even with the new playoff qualification model, there's no team in Division 3 that is playing the level of competition and the level of conference opponents that we have to play just to qualify for the playoffs.
Right.
And again, our kids don't back down. Our kids go into the fight and they get after it the best they can. And we just want to make sure that people recognize, no matter what our record is, the kids on the field are busting their butts and they're doing everything in their power to represent their school and their community the best they can in a situation that is patently stacked against them from a competitive standpoint. But our kids continue to compete. They continue to play with pride. They continue to represent our school with class. And I couldn't be prouder of the kids who played last year and the kids who played this year for taking on that challenge.
Well, coach, teams take on, the attitude of their head coach. And that's been you for as long as I've known you. You don't walk away. You don't say, hey, listen, oh, we got it bad. We're just going to go out and we're going to compete. We're going to figure out how to get this thing done. So I commend you. Speaking of some of the players, coach, I want to talk about some of the kids we're going to see tonight. Dual quarterbacks. You've got two sophomores, Benji Weiss and Brooks Doberstein. And you kind of go back and forth a little bit. How has that been working for you?
Well, it works well because the kids have no ego. And so they know that they accentuate each other's positives and their strengths. And we continue to develop both of them equally. And, we talk to our kids all the time about we're playing every single game with purpose to get better. But also we were preparing every single year for our next championship. And when that next championship comes, we've got to be ready. And so the day to day and the week to week is all about improving, getting better, and focusing on how we can execute at a higher level. Brooks and Benji push each other to get the best out of one another, and their skill sets are very complementary. And so we didn't feel great going into the year with either one of them as being the full-time starter. But what we did feel great about is combining their powers. And so we've gone with that model. It's had some hiccups along the way, but generally it's worked out very well. And, last week we had great production from that position. We had over 250 yards of total offense from the quarterback spot, and that's both of them contributing in different ways. And so ultimately we're trying to find ways to have production, and this is the way that we've chosen to do it. And so far it seems to be working.
Well, and two sophomores, you've got a sophomore who's leading that huddle, and you know what, this time of year things start to slow down for them, and I hope that happens for both Brooks and Benji. On the defensive side of the ball, Bryson King, another sophomore who's leading you in tackles, and he's playing some tight end, but as a linebacker, he's really, really, you got to know where he is on the field. He's a kid that's playing extremely well for you.
He is, unfortunately we had an injury at the start of the year with a kid that we thought was going to be that starter at linebacker, and we lost him for the season. So we were searching, and, through the process of scout team and JV reps and then getting it on varsity and those types of things, Bryson emerged. And, that's a testament again to him, but also to the value of practice and the value of really taking every advantage of every single rep, because we saw him, we couldn't ignore him. And lo and behold, now he's starting as a sophomore. But in this league, starting sophomores is not a great recipe for long-term success. We just continue to fight that battle with attrition. And, credit to those kids, though. They're playing their butts off. They're doing a great job. We had two heavyweights to start the conference season with Arrowhead and Muskego. We got another heavyweight tonight with Mukwonago. I'm really curious to see, how do our kids respond in this third heavyweight matchup? Is our execution better? Are we more focused and dialed in? Are we less, in the spotlight like deer, and more just focused on being, gladiators in the arena and focused on the job? Because I do think we got overwhelmed a little bit in those first two games with all of our youth. And now hopefully those experiences start to pay off.
100%. Coach, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. We're going to get you a break. Other side of the break, we'll be joined by the head football coach at Mukwonago, Coach Gnewuch. This is the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps football pregame show presented by Current Electric, only on My 24. Welcome back to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented by Current Electric, getting you ready for kickoff as the Indians from Mukwonago take on the Pirates from Pewaukee. We are now joined by the head football coach at Mukwonago. He is Mike Gnewuch. The Indians 4-1 overall, 3-0 in the Classic 8 Conference. Hey, Coach, it's good to see you again. How you been?
I've been great. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. I appreciate your time today. Hey, Coach, let's talk a little bit about this year's team. You feel pretty good about where they're at right now, pretty much midway through the season?
Yeah. I think we're continuing to answer questions week after week. It's good. We knew we were bringing back some experience on D, but just for the offense to create their own identity with a bunch of new starters has been really fun, really rewarding, and I'm proud of what we continue to build and continue to grow and get a little bit better each week.
You know, Coach, each time that I talk to you, I bring this up because you've been in both conferences, but the Classic 8 to me is the best football conference in the state. And when you look at other conferences, if you've got a team that's 1-2 in conference and you're 3-0, you feel pretty good about it. Pewaukee's a really good football team. And for them to be 1-2 in conference, it's not like you guys have a break at this point, right? There isn't any breaks in this conference, and I think Pewaukee is going to give you everything they have tonight. And I think that this conference makes your team have to be up for every single game.
Yeah, there's no question. I think Justin does a great job over at Pewaukee. We've been friends for years, and despite their enrollment, they're able to compete in this league to put up almost 50 points against a good quality Waukesha West team. Just kind of speaks volumes to who they are and what they're able to do.
100%. Hey, let's talk about some of the players. You talked about a lot of new players on offense, and I'm going to start with George Molitor, junior quarterback. Did he get any time on varsity with you guys last year?
No, Mason Kelly took basically 100% of the reps last year, unless we were up significantly, and then George basically came in and handed the ball off. So he's done a nice job. He's hungry. He's got a lot of moxie, and he's got a good grasp of the offense and what we're trying to do. So he keeps working on the little things. He's hungry to get better and just continue to grow and develop.
Has everything kind of slowed down now for him? Because I look as a basketball coach, I loved you could almost pinpoint when things started to slow down for a kid who was a sophomore or junior playing varsity full time for the first time, and it would take a couple of games, a couple of practices, and all of a sudden things would slow down. Have you seen that in George?
Yeah, and now we're just looking for that consistency because he's got moments where he looks really, really, really good. And he is getting more and more consistent, and we're hoping, yeah, by week 6 that everything just slows down, like you said, and he's able to just run and orchestrate the offense like he does in practice.
That's awesome. Hey, Colton Lynch is a senior running back who's putting up pretty big numbers for you. Talk to me a little bit about people that are watching the game tonight, what they're going to see when they watch a Colton Lynch carry the ball.
Yeah, here's a kid who's really had experience since his sophomore year. When he was a sophomore, Mason Radabicki was our starter, our feature back, but Colton would get some carries here and there. And as a matter of fact, week 9, Colton pretty much took all the carries. And then last year, didn't get as many carries until Mason went down. So he's got a lot of carries under his belt, a lot of experience. He started our level 4 playoff game last year and ran the ball pretty well. And now just having that experience and that leadership in that running back room, he's as good coaching the younger kids and coaching Jarrell as what he is when he's carrying the ball as a senior in our offense.
Hey, another guy on the offensive side, Luca Tess, who's a senior tight end. Um, he is somebody that George looks to quite a bit when he goes back to pass, and he's a kid that has played for you for a bit and catches pretty much anything in his area.
Yeah, he's I think leading our team in touchdown receptions. Luca's he's a scholarship kid, committed to Sioux Falls. He's 6'5", 230. He's a hurdler for us. One of our top hurdlers, him and Devin Viola, our corner on the other side of the ball. He's just super athletic. His ball skills are exceptional. Some of the catches that he's come down with in his career have been, highlight material. So what I love about Luca is he's just taken his blocking game to the next level. He's been pretty darn good on our double teams and just his one-on-one blocks this year. And here's another kid who just continues to teach our younger guys, because we love tight ends around here and we utilize them. We utilize them a lot.
No doubt. Hey, on the defensive side, Noah Dodds, senior linebacker, is a kid that I think, teams like Pewaukee, they have to know where he is on the field, and he's a kid that leads you in tackles and not afraid of contact. I'll tell you that from some of the film that I watched.
Yeah. Dodsey was one of the leading tacklers in the state last year. And if you want to know where he is on Friday nights, just know where the football is because he is always around the ball. The kid who plays with a high motor, high energy. And what I love about Noah is when you watch him play football, you can tell that here's a kid that just gets pure joy from running around and playing. And, it reminds me of watching, youth football where kids just have so much joy playing the game. That's Noah Dodds.
Boy, I love kids like that. In part of our AAYFL Spotlight, we're going to talk with Tom Karthausser, who's the president of the Mukwonago Braves. And talking to him before the interview, he talked a lot about how important that program is to you personally and how you show up at practices and show up at games. And the fact that these kids, when you show up, it's a different feel on practice. And I think you know that because you've been around a long time. And I love the fact that Braves program is really important to you and to your staff.
Yeah, it's Tom and I have such a great working relationship, and he's a dear friend of mine as well. And what he's done, he's just continued to promote the growth and the excitement within the community. There's Indian heads on every car in town. Our Braves show up on Friday nights. And yeah, like Tom said, I'm present at practices. My son happens to be in the program, so that helps. But just developing the relationship early on with these kids, knowing their names, working with them, and them coming up and fist bumping me, it's starting to pay its dividends.
Man, that's awesome. Coach, thank you so much for your time. We're going to get to a break. Other side, we're going to be joined by Tom Karthausser, the president of the Mukwonago Braves Youth Football Club, for the AAYFL Spotlight segment. This is the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented by Current Electric only on My 24. Welcome back to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show, as always presented by Current Electric. Getting close to kickoff for the Mukwonago at Pewaukee matchup. Before we send you over to Terry Kelly and John Weiser, let's talk to Tom Karthausser. He is the president of the Mukwonago Braves Youth Football Program in our AAYFL Spotlight segment. Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Very good.
Good.
Thank
Hey,
you.
how long you been involved with the Mukwonago Braves?
I've been with the Mukwonago Braves for about 8 seasons now. So I've been the president for the last 5. And things are going well here in Mukwonago.
Boy, it is a football community, is it not?
It is. We kind of, say to ourselves sometimes we feel like we're in a community that was uprooted from Texas and planted here in Mukwonago. So yeah, we are a football loving community.
Hey, how many kids are involved in the Braves program?
We have 250 kids enrolled here and participating here in the 2025 season. This is our 3rd consecutive season where we've surpassed, I should say, 250 kids playing in grades 5 through 8.
So a year ago, your 8th grade team was one of the winners of the AAYFL Team of the Week, and I got to come out and present that trophy to them. And
Yeah.
to look at all of the fields, going on in the back. I was shocked at how many kids, how many coaches. There were a lot of parents watching practices, and it was eye-opening to me. I have to be honest, the amount of support that you guys get from the entire Mukwonago community.
Yeah, we have a lot of, we always talk about winning hearts and minds, not just of the players, but of the parents too. And, I'm coaching the 5th grade team this year, and we have 10 dads, 10 coaches that are helping out, raise their kids through the game of football here. And, that's, 3 players for every 1 coach. We have a lot of support here. We have a lot of interest, and we spend our time in the off season training our coaches. We work with our head varsity coach, Mike Gnewuch, starting every January. We meet twice a month for 8 meetings through April. And our coaches are trained and knowing what to do, what our varsity program wants us to do. So we start that coming right out in 5th grade, and we keep it going.
Hey, Tom, one of the reasons we're doing this with the AAYFL is, and I think you'll agree with us and me, I don't think football has ever been safer for young kids to play. I think you guys do a great job of taking all the classes and learning how to teach the game safely, keep the head of the game, how to tackle. And there's not nearly as much hitting, I don't think, that goes on at practices at the youth level compared to years and years ago. And I think you would agree that part of what the AAYFL offers to families is really important for them to understand that you guys know what you're doing and teaching the game of football, not only for the life lessons, but the game itself.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier, I coach a 5th grade team. My son's on that team, and he started playing tackle in the 4th grade, and he had the option to play flag football without a helmet. But I felt that the helmet on the head was way more safe than the alternative. So the game's never been safer. I have my kids play. We teach our the right tackling techniques, keeping heads out of blocks, keeping heads out of tackles, and working on that technique daily. Every single day, we are working tackling drills the right way. And the game has never been safer. We teach it the right way, and we don't have issues there with any of that stuff.
I love the fact that you brought up Coach Gnewuch and how important the youth program is to him, because that's not everywhere throughout the state is the head football coach on the varsity level that engaged with the youth program. And I think that that's really important, that these kids see him around with the coaches, see him at a couple of games, see him maybe at a practice. And I think it's really important for that overall program that the head coach is fully engaged.
Yeah, Coach Gnewuch he communicates well with our coaches, with our parents, with the entire 5th through 8th grade program. Like I said earlier, we spent a lot of time doing chalk talks and learning from him. He gets out in front of the parents at golf outings. He comes to practices weekly, and he'll walk around. He has a 7th grade son, so when he comes to pick him up, he'll show up early, and he's around. He's accessible, and folks know who he is, and he does a great job helping build Mukwonago football, not just 9th through 12th, but 5th through 12th grade.
Tom, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. On the other side of the break, we're going to turn it over to John Weiser and Terry Kelly as the Indians from Mukwonago travel to take on the Pirates from Pewaukee High School in a Classic 8 conference matchup. This has been the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented by Current Electric, only on My 24.